In this episode, we will be discussing the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership or RCEP. We will begin with an introduction about the institution, followed by the history and structure. Then we discuss the objectives, guiding principle, shortcomings, India's relations with the institution, and finally, we will end with the way forward. Let us begin with a brief introduction about the institution. The Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership is a free trade agreement between 15 Asia-Pacific nations. These 15 member countries account for about 30% of the world's population and 30% of global GDP as of 2020, making it the biggest trade bloc in history. Now, looking at its history. This trade pact, which includes a mix of high-income, middle-income and low-income countries, was conceived at the 2011 ASEAN Summit in Bali, Indonesia. Its negotiations were formally launched during the 2012 ASEAN Summit in Cambodia and signed in 2020 at a virtual ASEAN Summit hosted by Vietnam. It will take effect 60 days after it has been ratified by at least 6 ASEAN and 3 non-ASEAN signatories. Let us discuss the structure of RCEP now. It includes all 10 members of ASEAN: Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. It also includes 3 additional East Asian members of ASEAN plus 3, that is China, Japan, and South Korea. It also includes 2 additional Oceanian members of ASEAN plus 6, that is Australia and New Zealand. Moving towards the objectives. The first one is to reduce and prohibit certain tariffs and red tapeism. It includes unified rules of origin throughout the bloc, which may facilitate international supply chains and trade within the region. It does not focus on labor unions, environmental protection, or government subsidies. The guiding principles of RCEP are that it is the first free trade agreement between China, Japan, and South Korea, 3 of the 4 largest economies in Asia. It would offer significant economic gains for signatory nations. It will pull the economic center of gravity back towards Asia, with China poised to take the lead in writing trade rules for the region. This will also make Asia free from the dependence on the US. Now we look at the shortcomings of RCEP. RCEP could negatively affect small farmers, lead to more land conflicts, and make workers in poorer nations worse off. Implementing RCEP at a time of crisis will make poorer nations in Southeast Asia even more vulnerable. Most ASEAN nations will see rising imports and declining exports. This will worsen their balance of trade and weaken their fiscal position. The economic benefits from RCEP would be modest and could take years to materialize. It is not providing a high degree of openness, and that it provides no dispute settlement mechanism when handling certain trade issues such as meat inspection regulations. India's relations with the institution are as follows. The trade deal would have fairly immediate negative consequences for India's economy. India pulled out of the deal in November 2019. It was primarily due to concerns of dumping of manufactured goods from China and agricultural and dairy products from Australia and New Zealand. This will potentially affect its own domestic industrial and farming sectors. Finally, the way forward is that this partnership has much to gain from a more liberalized service trade. Though this is a sensitive issue for many countries, it would be more suitable if a sector-wise liberalization process is adopted. Nations can then integrate more confidently once the benefits become visible. The negotiations must set clear timetables for concluding talks and actively pursue reforms deeper than any attempted before. The RCEP will no doubt face stiff opposition from various interest groups within the participating countries. With this, we conclude today's episode. Till then, stay tuned and stay updated. To watch our videos in Hindi, subscribe to our Hindi YouTube channel, Drishti IAS.